What do you feel when a woman loses her life? Especially if that woman is your only hope? I know how you feel. I saw it 2 months ago when I looked into Clara's eyes. I saw that light go out, and I didn't do anything. I'm here now in Montana, where it's very cold. There was blood on my hands. There were frozen tears all over my face. And inside of me, there's only darkness. Darkness that is deep, endless, and suffocating. Because I'm not that man anymore. Not the guy who wants to be good. I have turned into the devil. And devils set fire to everyone they love. It was 6 weeks ago. I had gone west to California to look for Clara. Jose was right. My heart told me to look for her. It took 2 weeks to get there. From Wyoming to California, I went over mountains, crossed rivers, walked through deserts, and I thought about Clara every day and every hour. That woman who was pregnant, that strong, scarred, and determined woman. Maybe I could start over with her. I might be able to forget about the past. I was so dumb. When I got to Santa Barbara, fall was just starting. The leaves were falling. The air was getting cooler, and I was standing in front of Clara's aunt's house. I knocked on the door. A woman in her 80s answered. "I want to see Clara," I said. The woman's face got darker. "I don't know who you are, but I was the one who helped her in the desert. The person who saved her from her husband." The woman stopped, looked me in the eye. After that, she opened the door. That feeling of excitement is what you get when you run toward hope. But you also know that fear. What if your hope isn't real? Clara was outside in the garden. She was still pregnant, 7 months along. Her stomach had gotten bigger. Her face had gotten prettier. She was very happy to be pregnant. She stopped moving when she saw me. Then she smiled. That lovely, glowing smile. "You came?" she said. I came. She ran as fast as she could and hugged me. I hadn't felt anything like that warm, tight hug in years. "I didn't think you would come. I didn't think so either," I said honestly. But I came. For a week I stayed there. Clara's aunt had agreed to let me stay. I was in a small room. I talked to Clara every day. We would sit in the garden sometimes. We walked around town sometimes. And I was starting to feel good. I was living a normal life for the first time in years. I wasn't pulling out my gun. I wasn't stealing money from banks. I wasn't killing men. I was just living. I wasn't the only one in this situation. Every criminal wants to be normal one day. But is that life possible for everyone? But the past never goes away. It always comes for you. And one day, it comes to your door. I was in a town saloon on the 8th day. Clara was at home, taking a rest. I was by myself, drinking. I felt relaxed for the first time in a long time. Then that guy came in, Frank. Frank is part of William's gang. That man is dangerous, untrustworthy, and hard to predict. He saw me and smiled. Well, I'll be damned. The cowboy hero is on vacation in California. I quickly grabbed my gun. "What do you want, Frank?" "Me? Nothing. I just wanted to see an old friend. We're not friends. You're right. We're not. But we were in the same gang. That means something. I quit that group. I know. We all know. But the gang hasn't gone away yet." I turned around. "What do you mean?" Frank took a sip of his drink. "William wants you back, and he won't take no for an answer." It was then that I knew the past had come back to get me. And you know, you can't get away. I said slowly, Tell William I'm not coming back. I told him. He didn't pay attention. He sent an offer instead. What kind of offer? Frank took a piece of paper out of his pocket and put it on the table. This, I opened it. It was a warning, a notice from the government. Needed. People who used to be criminals or on the run. A special job to get rid of cowboy gangs. Forgiveness and a reward from the government. I glanced at Frank. What does this mean? Means the government has finally made up its mind to finish the job. Life as a cowboy, life as an outlaw, all of it. And do you know who they are using to do it? People like us. People who used to be criminals. Government cowboys. Government cowboys? Yes, they're using criminals from the past to fight new gangs. As they say, fight fire with fire. I got it. The government was acting smart. They were breaking the law to finish what they couldn't do legally. Is William getting involved in this? Already in. And he wants you because you are the best, the smartest, the bravest, and the everything. What would you do? Would you go back in time? Or keep your new life safe? I said, no, I don't want to go, Frank chuckled. I knew you'd say that. That's why William sent another note. What kind of message? Clara and the baby are in danger if you don't come. I stopped. Blood rushed to my head. What did you say? You heard right. William really wants you. And if you don't come, Clara might be in danger. I knocked the table over, took Frank by the collar. I'll kill him if he touches her. I swear. Take it easy, Frank said, but there was fear in his eyes. I'm just passing on the message. You can choose. I let him go, tried to take a breath. But anger, fear, and desperation were all swirling around inside me like a tornado. When? I asked. Tomorrow. We'll meet in Montana. I wrote the address down. Frank got up and went, and I stayed there by myself at the table that had fallen over. I couldn't tell Clara everything that night. Why would I? Should I have said, a gang is threatening me and your life is in danger? No, I lied. A lovely, safe lie. I said, I need to go east. I had some business to take care of. What kind of business? She asked. There was worry in her eyes. Real business. I will work on a ranch. I'll make money and come back. When? A couple of weeks. Maybe a month. Clara took my hand. You will come back, right? I will, I said. A different lie. That lovely, hurtful lie. My throat was tight, but sometimes it's better to lie than to tell the truth. Because the truth hurts the people we care about. I slept next to Clara that night. I held her close, touched her belly while she was pregnant. There was a baby inside. A baby who is innocent, pure, and clean. Clara said in a sleepy voice, I'll call her Emily. Your last name will be hers. So she will always be there for you. My last name. But I hadn't even told her my real last name. I had been living like a ghost. Clara, I said. If something happens, she said, nothing will happen. You'll be back. And we will be a family. Family, that word again. That lovely, painful, and impossible word. Yes, I said, we'll be a family. But I was aware. I knew deep down in my bones this was not true. I woke up early in the morning. Clara was still in bed. I looked at her calm face, touched her hair, kissed her on the forehead. I love you, I said quietly. That was the first time I had ever said those words. and the last one, I went outside, got my horse ready, put my things together, and went east to Montana. To the dark, to the devil's land, because I didn't have any other options. I had to dance with devils to keep Clara safe. You might have given up something for someone you loved, too. You know what that pain is like. But sometimes the only way to show love is to give up something. As we drove to Montana, fall turned into winter. The air was very cold. The wind hurt to the bone. It started to snow. The first week was okay. The second week was tough. The third week was hell. I got stuck in a blizzard while crossing the mountains. The snow was so thick I couldn't see 3 feet ahead. My horse fell and staggered. We almost fell. I discovered a cave, found a place to stay, made a fire. But the cold got into everything. I was cold that night. Not just because it was cold, but also because it was scary. What if something bad happened to Clara? What if I got there too late? But the morning came. I was still alive. My horse was still alive. The road kept going. Things were starting to get better when, no, I should stop trying to make it better. Things never got better. Things just got worse. I stopped in a small village on the 5th day to get things they need. But the village was dying. There was sickness. I couldn't tell if it was cholera or malaria, but a lot of people were dying. There was no noise on the streets. People in houses were groaning. There were dead bodies in front of some houses, corpses that had been frozen and forgotten. A woman came up to me. Her eyes were sunken, and she looked old and tired. "Please help," she said. "Please, my daughter is going to die." "I am not a doctor," I said. "I know, but don't let her die alone. Someone should be with her." I stopped. What could I do to help this woman? Nothing, but I still went. Her daughter was in her 20s, in bed, shaking and burning up with fever. She opened her eyes and looked at me. "Are you an angel?" she asked. "No," I said. "I'm just a traveler." "Is there a heaven?" I couldn't say, because I didn't know, but I could see the woman's eyes begging. "Yes," I said, "there is, and it's very pretty." The girl grinned. Then she shut her eyes, and she was gone. She stopped taking in air. The woman was crying, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything anymore because I'd seen so much death. I wasn't the only one who had to deal with this. Everyone who has had too much pain stops feeling, and that day your soul dies. I left the town. I had to leave. I would get sick too if I stayed, or worse, I'd go crazy. I kept driving. The snow, the cold, and the death were all behind me, but I carried it all inside me. Montana was getting closer. William was waiting, and I was ready, because I didn't have anything else to lose. Nothing but keeping Clara safe, and to keep her safe, I would do anything. It was mid-November when I got to Montana. The snow had gotten thicker. The cold was deadly, and I was like a corpse that had been frozen. An old ranch was where they met. It was deserted, falling apart, and the wind blew hard there. But you could see the firelight from inside. There were signs of life. I got off, opened the door. There was William, but he wasn't by himself. There were 15 or 20 men with him. All of them had guns. Everything looks dangerous. Jose was there, but Martha and Jem weren't. Samuel wasn't. Tommy and Sarah weren't. There were only warriors there, William said. You came? His voice was cold. I came because you made me feel bad. Threatened? William laughed. No, I told you the truth. Clara is in trouble, but only if you don't show up. I'm here. Will you leave Clara alone now? Of course. Only if I stopped. What condition? Finish this mission. We'll work for the government. We will get rid of cowboy gangs, and you will be the leader. You know that feeling of desperation when you have to make a choice without any options. At that moment, I was completely out of options. William told everything that night. The government was sick of cowboy gangs. People were being killed, banks were being robbed, and trains were being robbed. Regular police couldn't finish this because cowboys knew all the roads, every place to hide, every way to get away. You had to think like them to catch them, do what they do. And the government was smart. They hired people who had been in trouble before. With promises of money, freedom, and forgiveness, William said, there are 6 gangs. All of them are dangerous, all set to kill, and we'll clean them out one at a time. Get rid of them? I said, you mean kill men? Yes, kill guys. But this time it's legal, for the good of the government. Killing that is legal. What a coincidence. For a long time I was an outlaw who killed men. Now I would kill people in the name of the law. Where is Martha then? Samuel? The rest? They stayed behind. This work isn't for them. This is only for warriors. I looked at the guys around me. I knew Jose was there. That traitor Frank was there. But the other people were strangers. Men with hard, cold, and merciless looks. There were other people in the same boat as me. Governments have always hired dirty men to do dirty work, and I had turned into one of those filthy men. The Riker gang was our first target, a group of 8 men who were very cruel. They were hiding out in Wyoming. We had to clean them out, too. It felt strange to say the word clean, as if we were cleaning up trash instead of people. We left a week later, 20 horses and 20 men. It was very cold in winter, but we couldn't stop because the work had to be done right away. Jose came up next to me on the road. We missed you, he said. Really? I sounded unsure. Yes, every day Martha asks about you. Samuel is scared. Sarah and Tommy cried. My heart hurt. How are they? They're okay. But William has changed. More difficult, more cruel. And Frank is hurting him badly. Frank, that jerk, had always caused problems. Why do you still believe in William? I asked. Jose shrugged his shoulders. Because there is no other choice. We missed you, he said. Really? I sounded unsure. Yes, every day Martha asks about you. Samuel is scared. Sarah and Tommy cried. My heart hurt. How are they? They're okay. But William has changed. More difficult, more cruel. And Frank is hurting him badly. Frank, that jerk, had always caused problems. Why do you still believe in William? I asked. Jose shrugged his shoulders. Because there is no other choice. They're witnesses. We won't leave any witnesses. I was frozen. The kid is innocent. The woman as well. Innocent? William looked at me with a cold look. Those people are in that gang. They help people steal. They hide their tracks. They're not innocent. But the kid, Frank said, the child will grow up and get back at you. We need to cut out the future at the root. I looked at the other guys. Nobody said anything. They all agreed to it. We were also going to kill the woman and child. We were like sinners with souls that were rotting. We struck at midnight, came up quietly, broke down the doors, hastily went inside. There was gunfire in the cabin, screams, yells, and death. It was all over in 5 minutes. There were 8 dead men. The woman was dead, but the child was hiding, a scared, crying child in a small closet. Around 8 years old, Frank found him. "That's him," he said. He pulled out his gun. "Stop," I said. "What?" "Leave the kid." "I can't. We have orders." "I told you to leave him." I aimed my gun at Frank. William stepped in. "What are you up to?" "I'm not going to kill this kid. And you aren't either. This isn't how this works. We're all in, or none of us. Then none of us. Because I won't kill this kid." There was a long silence after that. Everyone stared at us. They pulled out their guns. Then William let out a sigh. "Okay, let the child go, but this is the last time. You'll be next if you say no again. People who have been through these kinds of things know that saving a child can save your soul. And that night I tried to save my own. We left the kid in a small town. In a church. A priest would take care of him. He might find a family. He might live, maybe. But I was aware that child had lost something. He saw his family die right in front of him, and I was one of the people who killed them. We got rid of 3 more gangs in less than a month. The Morgan Gang, the Carson Gang, and the Black River Gang. There was more bloodshed with each raid. Each time, less and less of my conscience stayed, and I was going deeper into the dark. I killed 7 men during the Carson Gang raid, on my own, in a way that was cold, mechanical, and emotionless, like I was a robot. A woman shot at me during the Morgan Gang raid. She missed. I didn't miss her. My bullet hit her heart. The woman fell down. She looked shocked. In the Black River Gang raid, everything changed at Black River. That's where I saw Clara. There were a lot of people in the Black River Gang. 15 men, and Clara was one of them. When I saw her, I froze. How could this happen? She ought to have been in California, at her aunt's house, safe and pregnant. But she was there, looking at me with a gun in hand, among the gang. "Clara?" I yelled. She said, "You." Her voice was angry. "You left me." "What do you mean? I came to keep you safe." "That's not true." "Everything is a lie. I learned after you left who you really were, that you were a criminal, that you killed someone." My heart broke. "Clara, please listen." "No." She aimed her gun at me and said, "You became a monster, and I won't raise my child to be the child of a monster father." "Clara, no." She shot. The bullet went past me, but I stopped. Frank was fired. Clara's chest was hit by the bullet. Anyone who has been through this knows that seeing death in the eyes of someone you love is the same as seeing your own death. Clara fell down. I ran to her. I held her in my arms. "Clara, please no," she said. "Too late." Her mouth was bleeding. "You killed me." "No, I love you." "Please, Clara, baby." She put her hand on her stomach. "My baby." Her eyes went black. She stopped breathing, and that light, that beautiful, hopeful light, went out. And I was there, covered in blood, with the body of the woman I loved. The fight went on around me. Gunfire, screams, and death, but I didn't hear anything. There was nothing but silence. Silence that is deep, never-ending, and suffocating. The fight was over. The Black River Gang was no more. There are 14 dead. And Clara. William walked up to me and said, "I'm sorry." But his voice didn't sound sincere. "Go," I said, "but go." I yelled. The next 2 months went by in a flash. I didn't want to remember, because remembering meant remembering the pain. We got rid of 4 more gangs. I thought less in each one, less felt. More people died. I had become a machine that kills. William saw. One day he said, "You've changed." I said, "No, I've always been like this. I'm not hiding it anymore." And it was true. Now the monster inside me was free. It had broken free from its chains, and it couldn't be stopped. Jose was scared. He said, "Brother, you're losing yourself." "I don't know where I am," I said. "When Clara died, I died too." "No, you're still here. And while you're alive, you can change." But I couldn't change, because changing meant dealing with the past, and I didn't have the guts to do it. William told us the big news in February. He said, "One last gang left. The Martinez gang, the biggest, the most risky 40 men." 40, Frank whistled. "That's too many." "I know, but the government will help. A unit of the army will show them the way, the military. The government was really ready to get this over with." "When?" I asked. 2 weeks. In Arizona. And when this is over, we'll all be free. We'll be forgiven. We will get cash. And we can go back to living normally. Life as usual. What a strange word. Life as I knew it was over. It died when Clara did. But the biggest shock was when I met the head of the Martinez gang. The desert in Arizona was harsh. It was February, but the days were very hot and the nights were very cold. The wind blew the sand around, and the sun hurt your eyes. The unit of the army had come. 1 captain and 20 soldiers. Men who are young, have experience, and determined. But they didn't know how dangerous the Martinez gang was. We were aware. I, Jose, Frank, and William all gathered around the map. The Martinez gang was hiding out in an old mine, like a fortress made by nature. 1 entrance, a narrow canyon. Simple to protect, almost impossible to attack. The captain said 40 men, all armed, all set to fight. How do we get them? I said, a trap. We need to get them out. Fight in the open. How do we get them out? We need bait. Someone needs to go inside and get their attention. We close the trap when they come after him. The captain turned to me and said, who will be the bait? There was silence. Everyone turned to look at each other. No one came forward. I said, me. My voice was tired. I'll go. I wasn't the only one in this situation. In the end, every lost soul chooses death. And I had begun to not care about dying. William looked at me and said, are you sure? I know. This is a mission to kill yourself. I know. Jose moved forward. I'll come too. Don't go by yourself. No, I can go faster by myself. You stay here. Set up the trap. Jose was unsure. Then they nodded. Be careful, brother. That word made my heart hurt, but I couldn't cry anymore. My tears had dried up a long time ago. I left at midnight, with my guns, my horse, and death. There was a full moon. It made the desert bright. Shadows were long and sharp, like ghosts. My heart slowed down as I got closer to the mine. There was no fear, not excited, just nothingness. I thought about Clara, her pretty face, her strong look. "You became a monster," she said angrily. She was correct. I had turned into a monster. Death is the end of monsters. I thought about my dad. My father, who only had one arm, was a good man. "Son, this land will give us a fresh start," he said. He was so wrong. I thought about my mom. "Be strong," she said with her last breath. Was I strong or just tough? I thought about Lily, my sister, who is small and has blonde hair. She died of cold at 4. She never even knew what living was. They were all gone, every single one of them, and now I was going to join them. If you've ever felt tired of life, you know what peace is. Death doesn't always feel like the end. Sometimes it feels like the start. I got to the entrance of the mine. There were 2 guards there. They pulled out their guns when they saw me. "Stop? Who's there?" I said, "A lone traveler. I want to talk to Martinez." "Why?" "There's a message for him," the government said. The guards looked at one another. Then one of them went inside. He came back 5 minutes later. "Come, but don't bring your guns." I gave my guns to them. I went inside with my hands up. There was no light in the mine. There were torches on the walls. 40 men or maybe more. Everyone was looking at me. They looked at me with curiosity, suspicion, and anger. Then I saw him, Martinez. There was an elderly man in front of me, in his 60s, dark-skinned, white-haired, and sharp-eyed. His face had a big scar on it. It went from his forehead to his chin. But the most shocking thing was his eyes that are green, just like mine. "You," Martinez said. His voice shook. "Are you really you?" I stopped. "What do you mean?" Martinez moved forward, looked closely at my face. Then he laughed, a sad, bitter laugh. He said, 43 years ago, I lost a son. He was 5 with his family. In Montana, on a ranch, my head was full of blood. What? I was part of that gang. One of the people who broke into the ranch. That day, we killed a man with one arm. The ground moved under my feet. I couldn't get any air. You're one of the men who killed my dad? If you're not sure if this is real, I can tell you that I felt the same way at that time. Could fate be this mean? Martinez nodded. Yes. And that child, that secret child, was you. It wasn't, was it? I couldn't talk. I just looked at that guy, that beast. The man who took my father's life. 43 years later, Martinez said. Fate brought us back together again. Isn't that funny? I'm going to kill you, I said. My voice shook. I know. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for 43 years. What? Martinez took a seat. He seemed tired. From that day on, I never found peace. I see that kid every night, crying and shaking behind the tree. And I know that child will grow up one day and come and pay your bills. Why do you feel bad? I yelled. You're a murderer. You killed my dad. I know, and I pay for it with hell. But I was young that day too, hungry, stupid, and desperate. The gang leader told them to do it. Kill, he said. And I killed. People who have had those kinds of moments know that being a monster isn't always a choice. Life can make you a monster sometimes. You are lying, I said. Are you standing up for yourself? No, I'm not making excuses for myself. I did it. and I'm waiting for my punishment. I looked at him. He looked sorry, genuine regret. But did that matter? My dad was dead. My family was gone. I told him, then take your punishment. I took one of the guard's guns, aimed it at Martinez. Everyone around me aimed their guns at me. 40 fingers are ready to pull 40 guns. But Martinez raised his hand. Stop. Leave him alone. But boss, I told him to leave him alone. This is my bill. I owe this boy. The guns were put down, but they were prepared. I'd be dead in a second if I fired. What would you do? The man who killed your father is now defenseless and waiting for his punishment. Would you kill him? I had my finger on the trigger, a little bit of pressure, only one pressure, and Martinez would die. Revenge for 43 years. 43 years of anger. 43 years of pain, all because of one movement. But something did happen. I could hear Clara's voice. Now you're a monster. I could hear Martha's voice. You're a nice person. I could hear Samuel's voice. Don't let the light go out. And I heard my dad's voice. Son, we'll be free. Liberty. What did that mean? Was getting back at someone freedom? Or was it forgiving? I put the gun down. I said, no, I won't kill you. Martinez was very surprised. Why? I don't want to be a monster anymore. But fate didn't want to let me off the hook. There was gunfire outside, yells, sounds of explosions. What's going on? Martinez yelled. One of the guards went inside. Army, they've closed in on us. William, that jerk had begun the plan early. While I was still in, he set me up, I said. William wants to kill me. Martinez looked at me and said, then we're both dead. No, is there a way out? In the back, there's a tunnel, but it's not very wide. Only one can pass at a time. Get your men out. Now I'll keep this place. You? Why? Because maybe this is how we all stay alive. Martinez thought for a moment. Then they nodded. Men, go out through the back tunnel. Now, you might have given up your life for an enemy as well. You know that thing that doesn't make sense. Your enemy can sometimes turn into a friend. I stood at the mine entrance while Martinez's men ran away through the tunnel. With a gun in my hand, I felt a strange peace in my heart. William and the soldiers came in. 20 men, all shooting. I shot 2. 1, 2, 3 men fell down, but there were too many of them. A bullet hit me in the shoulder. It hurt, then my leg. I stumbled, but I kept going. I saw Jose. Jose, I yelled. Why? William told me to do it. He yelled back, I'm sorry. I saw William, those cold, calculating eyes. You wanted to change me, he yelled. But I don't change, I'm in charge. The only one in charge, I got it. William had threatened me. About more than just Clara. He had taken advantage of me, made me do the hard work, and now he wanted to get rid of me. I only had 1 bullet left. I aimed at Will. I told him to go to hell. I shot. The bullet hit William in the chest. The man stumbled and fell, but Frank shot at me. The bullet hit close to my heart. I fell. I was lying on the ground. There was blood. Too much blood. I looked up at the sky. The stars were shining. It was lovely. Jose came up to me and said, Brother, no. I said, it's good. It was hard to breathe. Now I'm at peace. No, don't die, please. Tell Clara I'm sorry. She is dead. Do you not remember? I know, but still tell her. My eyes were shut. The sounds faded away, and I finally found peace. That's what I thought. But fate still had more in store for me. Everything had changed when I woke up. Pain. Everywhere hurts. I opened my eyes. The ceiling is made of wood. A place I didn't know. What was I? I tried to move my head. My chest hurt. I remembered. Someone had shot me. Frank had shot. I should have died, but I wasn't dead. I was still alive. Why? How? The door swung open. Martinez came in. He held a bowl in one hand with something in it. "You are awake," he said. "Good. The doctor thought you were gone. Where am I?" "A safe place. Outside of Mexico's borders. The army can't come here. Mexico, across the border. I was in a place where criminals lived. Why did you save me?" I asked. Martinez took a seat. "Because you didn't kill me. You could have, but you didn't. That taught me something." "What?" "Forgiveness is stronger than revenge." I wasn't the only one who had this problem. People who forgive have always been stronger than those who get back at others. And maybe I could be strong as well. For a month I lived in Martinez's camp. His men took care of me. I just lay there the first week. I was too weak and hurt too much. I could stand up the second week. I walked slowly. My cuts were getting better, but the wounds inside me were still bleeding. The third week, Martinez and I talked for a long time. He talked about what happened in the past, concerning that raid. He said, "There were 6 of us that day. Hank was the leader, a cruel person. We won't leave witnesses," he said. "Your father fought back. He pulled out his gun. But he only had one arm. He had no chance." "And you?" I said. "Did you fire too?" Martinez put his head down. "No, I just watched. And that's a worse sin than firing someone." I didn't say anything, because he was correct. Watching can be just as bad as doing. "What happened to those guys?" I asked. "How about the other gang members?" "Most of them died. 3 years later, Hank was hanged. They shot the others one by one. I was the last one left, and you felt guilty for years. Yes, every day, every night. Torture that never ends. You know that weight if you've dealt with your past? There are sins that will never be forgiven, only carried. Jose came the 4th week. I have no idea how he found me. But he did. "Brother," he said when he saw me, "you're still alive. Thank God." "Jose, how did you find me?" "I went along. I was worried about you." We hugged, a long brotherly hug. "What happened to William?" I asked. Jose's face got darker. "Dead. From the hole your bullet made. 3 days later, he died. William was dead. The man who had been in charge of me for years, used me, and then betrayed me, was dead. And I didn't feel anything. Martha, Samuel, the rest, they're okay. The group broke up. People went their separate ways. Martha and Jim went to the west. Samuel moved to a town. Sarah and Tommy went to school. Frank? The army took him into custody. He will be tried. Probably hanged. Frank was going too. Everyone was leaving. And I was staying in a ghost camp here in Mexico. What are they saying about me? I asked. Jose thought about it. I told them you were dead. I thought it would be easier. Gone. People thought I was dead. And who knows? Maybe that was a good thing. That man, that outlaw, that killer. He was already dead anyway. You might have made a new version of yourself too. Put an end to your old self and start over. That was what I was doing that day. By the 5th week, I was completely better. I could walk, talk, and live now. Martinez spoke to me one last time. "What are you going to do now?" he asked. "I don't know, but I can't stay here." "Where are you going?" I thought, California? No, Clara's memories. We're still there. Montana? No, that's where my family died. Wyoming? What about Arizona? What about New Mexico? I said, south to Mexico. Perhaps I'll fit in there. Maybe I'll start over. Martinez nodded. Good luck, and thank you for letting me off the hook. I haven't forgiven you yet, I said honestly, but maybe one day I will. That's enough, because sometimes what you mean is more important than what happens. That night, I sat by the fire one last time. In Martinez's camp, his men were sleeping all around me, and I was by myself. I ran my hand over the scar on my chest. Another scar to add to the collection. I have a burn scar on my heart, a fight scar on my eye, and now a bullet scar on my chest. Everyone has a story. Everyone hurts. Each one is a lesson. I ran my fingers through my red beard, the legacy of my father, the eyes of my mother, Lily's laugh. They were all inside me. They were still alive. They stayed with me. Father, I said quietly, I finally got back at him, but I didn't kill. I let it go, or I'm working on forgiving. I hope you're happy. The wind blew softly. There was no answer. But inside me, there was peace. It was small and fragile, but it was there. You know that even the darkest night has an end if you've been through it. And I was starting to see that end. I got on my horse when morning came. I had put my things away. I didn't have a lot. My gun, some clothes, and the address paper that Clara gave me. I read that paper, Santa Barbara. Clara was no longer there, but maybe her aunt was still there. There might still be something of Clara. Or would I go to the south, to Mexico, to go away completely? A new name, a new life, become a new person? I didn't know yet. I rode my horse. The sun was coming up. Red, orange, purple. Beautiful like every new day. And I picked a way to go. I won't say which way, because some trips never end. I'm 22 years old. My father died 43 years ago. Wait, no, I am 22 years old. My father died 17 years ago. The math doesn't even add up anymore, because time doesn't mean anything anymore. But I do know this. I'm not that 5-year-old boy anymore. Not the boy who was scared and shaking behind that tree. I'm not that 21-year-old criminal anymore either. Not the man who loved Clara but lost her and fell into darkness. So who am I? I don't know, but maybe that doesn't matter. What matters might be who I want to be. You might be looking for yourself too, and maybe the search for answers is more important than the answers themselves. The wind blows my hair. The sun feels good on my face. The horse walks under me with purpose. And there is a light inside me. It's small, flickering, weak, but it won't go out. Samuel, Martha was correct. They were all correct. Don't let the light inside you go out. I'm not going crazy. It might have gotten weaker. It might have almost gone out, but it's still there. And this light will guide me home. Where is home? I don't know, but I'm leaving. I'm going for a walk. I am alive, and that's all, because sometimes staying alive is more important, Dot, than winning. And I made it through.